It's the beautiful San Francisco weather to kick us off.
Let's
A
get a
little
view
wind
check.
tunnel and some fog. Quick view check. Inner Richmond, San Francisco. Beautiful day as usual in the summer of SF.
Gotta love the
Yeah,
clouds.
questionable. Lots of clouds. Um, let's talk about the why.
Mm,
Let's talk about the why behind successful agency owners, um, and things that we've noticed so far.
has to be big enough. Um,
Has to be big enough.
Pretty simple. I don't think there's much more that goes outside of that, but I think there's a point, and honestly, I think it happens at each level. Like even, you can scale. I'll be the first to say it, if you scale to 30, 40K a month
Okay,
and you
hang
get
on,
really
hang on.
comfortable there.
Let's backtrack for a second. So, um, just to give some context, uh, when we talk about why, we're talking about like the general motivation behind why somebody is building an agency or growing an agency or doing this for any sort of business itself. Um, and I think Braden and I here have both kind of like noticed so far through lots of different people we've met in our lives and some of the people in OB, we've noticed that there's different whys for everybody, or some similar ones too. But the why itself is the inherent motivation for building the business, and um, that why needs to be strong enough in order for the business to grow. Because otherwise, what happens is it's very easy for people to get comfortable. Um, so we'll
Well,
expand on that and kind of like
I
hone
mean,
into it now.
what I was also saying is with the why, it doesn't just happen at level one or going from level zero to level one. You know what I mean? And
Right,
getting started. It also happens, when you're at 30 to 50K a month and you're
right,
comfortable there and you don't really want to keep growing and so on and so forth. I think for every level or amount of growth you want to see, you're going to need more motivation
right.
or a further
Um,
why.
a further why.
And to be honest, sometimes you'll need a bigger why. Um, a lot of people when they first get out of that first hump from like 0 to 10K, and let's say they're doing like 20, 30K a month, it's very
Mhm.
easy to stay comfortable there. If you
Right,
don't have enough motivation to keep going, it's very easy to just want to stay in that area. Um, and it's hard to push back past out there. Kind of get that. Sometimes your initial motivation won't push you past there. You have
right,
to get a new why.
right. Um, so okay, so for like a complete beginner, what is their why usually?
Money,
Okay, but like beyond money, like what does money mean? What does money create?
freedom,
Okay,
I'd
so
say,
freedom.
is a good
So
one.
so so like freedom from what then?
I guess from a life they don't want, I guess per se would might be something. I mean, I think goals have like your motivation comes from two areas. One is like something you're striving for, and another
Yeah.
thing that you're striving to run away from. Um, so I think there's kind of two things. There's one thing you're pushing for to try and get, um, like a goal. It could be freedom or money or something, and there's also something that you're running away from. That's kind of
Right.
both propelling you in a forward trajectory.
Right. Um, yeah, so like an example I've seen a lot is like uh uh people in their late teens, like finishing high school or like first couple of years of university, maybe early 20s, um, realize that they don't like the life path that they've chosen, um, and they want to find a way to make income, and like actually look after themselves and have their basic needs met outside of working for a very big company as an employee. So that's like a strong motivation for them to actually go and I guess start an agency and start making money. Um, but sometimes that why needs to evolve, because when you start your agency and you spend enough time with it and you start actually making money and you have clients paying you, um, that can become very like comfortable. And it's very easy to start making 8 to 10,000 a month and saying, okay, cool, like I've got income now. Like I don't need to worry. Um, but uh, typically there needs to be like an inherent drive beyond that, in order for a business to actually keep growing. And if you want to build a big company, uh, then uh, you need to understand your motivations themselves. I think like a different example is uh, people that are doing it solely for the sport of it. So I think there's a point also that like where maybe you need to go through a couple of whys first, but there's a point in which it becomes like such a game, uh, that you're just doing it solely to get better. It's like a sprinter, a professional sprinter, um, trying to beat his own time. Like there is not much other reason apart from being the best possible. Um, and revenue and business growth is a reflection of that. It's a reflection of your own ability to be consistent, be accountable, um, master your own skills, and just keep leveling up. And of course, there are benefits with making more money. Uh, there are more things available to you in life, but um, yeah, that seems to be like quite a big one for people that like push harder or push past that. That there's like an actual reason beyond just like having basic needs met and being able to live and survive and be comfortable. Um, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's never going to be enough per se. And then at
Hmm.
I think a good trait for someone that's going to see a lot of growth is, you know, the goal isn't just there one time. Like I guess the goalpost keeps on moving. Um, you know, the goal might be 10K a month and they hit it and now it's 100 and they hit it and then it's a million and so on and so forth. And once again, kind
Hmm.
of what you said, it's kind of for this it's to play the game. It's not gets past money at some point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
There's like a deeper meaning.
yeah.
It's like like for me, I know that there's like a deeper level of like self-actualization that is achieved with uh, growing a business. Like the ability to make something that is solves big problems for people is very cool. Um, and revenue reflects that. But doing it itself is the drive. I think like um, if I had all of the money in the world, I would still do it. Um, but perhaps that's actually a good question to ask yourself if you're starting an agency. Is like if you made a certain amount of money, what would you then go and do?
Yeah.
Because it's very possible that like building an agency is not the business model for you, or it's not the career path that you want to take. Um,
Well, what I see a
and
lot is,
yeah.
I think I think to scale a business to big heights, you like you often hear a lot of people and they'll say, if I made $1 million, like I just stop working. But I feel
Hmm.
like people who get to that level of making that money don't stop working because you can't get there without enjoying you know what I mean? You can't
Yeah.
get there without enjoying the process or
Right.
the game of it. I bet if you know, hit all your financial goals tomorrow, you know, the day after you wake up and start doing it just because you have to like do something, push something forward. You have to be working on something,
Yeah.
or seeing some sort of progress. You're not just you don't get to where you're at by sitting still or by
Right.
just like, oh cool, I made XYZ, I'm done. Like it just
Right.
doesn't happen. And I don't foresee that ever happening for me. I just, I get bored after a few days. You know
Right.
what I mean?
So do you think there's like a threshold maybe? Because I feel like I've seen this a lot with like people that are kind of like anywhere from the 0 to 30,000 a month range, roughly, in revenue. Um, and often I actually find that like lots of like the people that are kind of like stuck in that range, get stuck there for like 2, 3, 4 years potentially, um, and they kind of get comfortable with it, and it's more than possible for them to keep growing, but they get stuck in this loop. Um, and then oftentimes they start spending more with the business itself. Like their margins aren't very great, they're not very healthy, and actually they're making like 8,000 a month in profit, and they were making the same as they were making at 10,000 a month. But they're kind of like stuck in that profit range. Like they really can't get out of it. They can't go and make more money. Um, and uh, yeah, I think a large factor of that is like perhaps um, they 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 at some point, maybe they never had it, but at some point they lost the desire to actually get better themselves. Um, and or at least in the realm of business, like maybe there's other areas of their life that they're trying to improve in, but business is not something that they're inherently interested in growing beyond that. Um, and I honestly think for those people, like the business can actually bring them a lot more stress, and they work harder hours and make less money than they would as like an employee at a large company. Um, so I think it's actually like it's a dangerous trap to fall into if you're not clear on what your motivations for doing it are. And it's something that I would recommend to anybody that's like getting into business or getting into an agency is beyond just like making more money, like understanding what your deeper motivations are, like what it is that you're actually seeking to get out of a business, whether it's playing the game and just mastering certain skills yourself, whether it's creating things, um, whether it's living a life of penultimate freedom and only working 2 hours a week. Like you should be clear on each one of those. Because if you're the type of person that says, well, if I had $1 million today, I would stop working, then building a business is probably not the move, and you're probably not going to get there in the first place because that attitude doesn't actually lead you to going and making $1 million.
100% agree. Can't really add on too much to that. You closed off a lot of that. Um, yeah, I guess question for yourself is, when looking for someone who, you want to, I guess, I'll use mentor as the word, mentor, coach, guide, whatever, to
Yeah,
scale up a business. I mean, let's say this person's at zero and they've got an idea, or they've seen some things. I mean, what are some good determiners or factors you look for? Like, hey, this person would be, I think, a great candidate to go and like build something big, even though they have no track record behind them or anything like that.
yeah.
Um, what do you look for, if anything?
I'm gonna try and spitball a few things, and they may be kind of wrong, and I might like edit them in the future. Um, but I think one is like confident but humble. I think that's like something that's like good to look out for. So somebody that's like confident in themselves and their ability, and like trusting in themselves over the long run. Um, that's like a really important trait. Uh, but being humble about it, like not being confident but not cocky, um, is really important. I think cocky people that say that they're the best and uh, think that they're invincible. Uh, some of them turn out to be successful, but most don't. Like lots of the people that I know, uh, or that I've seen in my life over the last 10 years, like um, that have been confident and cocky, have not actually panned out to be successful in business. That
So you're
cockiness has
saying,
almost gotten to the better of them. Yeah,
yeah, because there's sometimes that can override, and I mean there are scenarios where they can get there, but you're saying, having someone who is confident that they're going to get there and they're going to do what's needed and everything's going to work out that way, but
yeah.
also having the ability to learn and say they're wrong and those sort of things.
Yes, exactly. Like being able to admit that you don't know everything, that you're probably wrong about most things, and that yeah, you not even that you don't know everything, that you don't know much. Like no one really knows much. I don't think even the most successful people in the world, like on the scale of all of the things that you can know, the amount of knowledge that they consume and retain is like a millionth of a percentage.
I think that's a
Um,
really good thing to hit on because, over time I've realized more and more that not only am I still always figuring it out, but so are you. So is the guy who you feel is 10 steps ahead of you, and the guy is 10 steps ahead of him, and so on and so forth.
yeah.
I don't think anyone really has it figured out. So that's a really good, you know, it helps I wouldn't say de-stress, but just, it's okay to not get everything right and to, fail at something because a lot of people do, right?
hmm
Um,
Yeah,
you just have to keep iterating.
yeah, and it's the faster you can admit to your own mistakes, I think the faster you grow too. Um, like one of the things that always leads to a lot of growth in my life is realizing when I'm like really wrong about something.
Yeah.
And your ego doesn't want to necessarily admit that you're wrong or that you did it incorrectly, but being wrong is actually a really good thing. And it's like such a cliche, but the Thomas Edison example of like trying 10,000 ways to make electricity or a light bulb or whatever, only to find the one that worked was like it's like a perfect example of that. Like if he was confident that his first approach was the right approach and just kept trying it, he probably would have never uh, found the other 9,000 ways that it also didn't work, and eventually leading him to the final one.
I guess follow-up question to that, if someone's pushing really hard in something and maybe that vertical and that industry just isn't the most scalable,
Yeah.
um, obviously there's a time to say something's not working and you need a pivot, but you also don't want to have shiny object syndrome. How do you or what do you look for in that potential pivot moment where you know where you feel your efforts could be used somewhere else, but you don't want to be switching something and just having that shiny object syndrome or avoiding pain?
So I do think that everything works. I do think that you can make anything work. Like I do really hold that belief.
I
Um,
mean, I think you can scale a cup company to 100K a month, but is that
yeah.
you're going to be where your efforts are most used?
Yeah, I think there's a part of it which is playing to your own strengths, and it takes time to discover what your strengths are as well. Um, I think you also you don't know like how strong you are at something until you try it, and then you might discover that you're not very good at it, or you're not like particularly passionate about it. Um, I started music marketing, and I discovered that I was good at marketing, but like not particularly interested in the music industry. Um,
How many clients did you have?
I was selling like $20 a month services. I had like 300.
Holy,
Um,
anyone go off to be big time?
24K Golden was one of them.
Interesting.
Um,
And what were you doing for
yeah.
these people?
Originally, it was Spotify playlist promotion, so helping them get onto Spotify playlists and expand their listener base. And then
Interesting.
it was like ads and social media growth and uh, getting people to like buy more tickets to their shows and buy more merch. Um, but I like that type of marketing itself. I didn't find very exciting. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Um, so after a while, I found something that I think was better suited to me and played to my strengths a little more.
But
Um,
my
yeah,
question for you would be, when you're doing that, and let's say it's going well, you've got 300 clients, things
yeah.
are going decently well. w- What what was the main prompt or overall for saying, "Hey, let me switch to something else"? You've already got something that works. In my head, what we'll be going through is, oh, you just got to double down, you just got to switch or tweak these things, or would you say it
Yeah.
wasn't even a scalability thing? It was just like this doesn't interest me that much. I'm gonna switch.
Um, I think it was like partially an interest, although I do think there are a couple of points of this that I've learned over time. The first is um, you can make any business really big if you want to. So there's like you can pivot businesses, so you can switch the focus of the business itself. You can um, uh, you can make more products and more services. You can hire people to do the things that you're weak at, and you can focus in on your own strengths in that market or niche. So I think that there is like a part of this where like sticking businesses out for the long run is usually what makes the most successful people very successful. Like the top 100 wealthiest people in the world. Um, I think for the most part, all did that through one primary company, or maybe a couple of primary companies that were like that they owned, and maybe they like sold companies along the way, but the thing that made them super wealthy and got them on the top 100 was one. Um, so I think that's like a key part is like uh, sticking with it makes it successful. Um, but on the other side of the coin, there is the fact that like this doesn't really happen until you have like lots of partners or like multiple people owning parts of businesses. But sometimes businesses just are like fundamentally broken, and it's easier to start a new company and make that successful than continuing with your current company itself. Um, so that's something else to consider. But I don't think
Just
this really
like,
applies until you're like at 8 figures plus.
so you're just saying like the overall structure, profit share, revenue share, whatever it may be, equity ownership, stuff like that. Just the overall structure of the business, you do the math, scaling out another 5, 10 years, and it doesn't add up.
Potentially, but I don't know if I completely agree. Like, I think that if I stuck with music marketing, I would have been just as successful.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you okay, so
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 it
your
really do,
mindset,
so I think it really comes down to what you actually want to do.
what you want to work. Okay, that makes a
What
lot
you
more
want to
sense.
work. Yeah. Like I've met billionaires that like became billionaires through like hundreds of companies. But their conclusion was like I could have just done this through one too and I would be worth just as much.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying pretty much anything you do, you knew you were going to be good at it and scale it to a high level, and you just really had to find the thing that I guess made it easiest for you to work and fall in love with the process, etc.
I think that was my like argument for it, but I don't know if that's inherently true. Like I think that I could push through and learn how to find enjoyment in any company, if I'm being completely honest. I think for me, like if I believe that I'm actually solving a problem and I'm being useful, then that's one thing that I really want.
I'd
I
assume
want
that
to be able to invent and create tech, like or create solutions. But you can do that within any company. Like you can turn a marketing agency uh, into a software business, or you can like build branches of the company. You don't need different companies in order to do that.
I'd assume that mindset though probably changed over time. Like if you had that now, you know, back when you were doing music marketing, that might have changed the trajectory and stuff like that as well.
Probably, yeah. Again, like most of these things, you're not going to know until hindsight. But like, if you think, like, if we talk about agencies specifically, there's also people that try to niche hop, right? And then they'll like niche hop forever. And if you niche hop forever, then you'll never actually scale one thing. So at some point, you have to focus in on one thing and go, all right, I'm going to work on this and I'm going to grow it.
The thing with
And
me,
yeah,
well, see, I did car repair for like 2 weeks, and then I did gym for like 3 months, and then I did real estate. And
right.
technically I was a niche hopper, but it, you know,
I think
it
within your
worked out.
first 6 to 12 months, it's like it's completely fine. Like I think you get a free pass for the first 6 months, maybe 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's like
fair.
you're kind of like honing in on the thing that you want to do and like the service that works and the niche that you work well with or you're interested in pursuing. And then once you've gotten there, it's like then you should stick with it.
I guess
Like
looking in hindsight,
if you were to switch niches today, that would just be stupid.
yeah, I guess also looking in hindsight, my reasons for switching, I think now I could have scaled once again in any one of those verticals just as far as I have right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Looking back on it. So I think that's a good thing to just stick with what you have going on and find the solutions
Yeah.
before switching necessarily. The grass is always greener on the other side is, something that can play with you a little bit.
Yeah. Like if I use my example with like starting a new company versus continuing to scale Flax, um the my main reason for that is I felt the companies were very different. Like very, very different. And I felt the new idea that we wanted to work on was like unproven and I couldn't guarantee that it actually related to Flax incredibly well, like e-commerce marketing agency. Um so and then the other part of that is I wanted to bring investors into the company. And I didn't want to disrupt the structure of Flax. I felt that like it would make more sense for us to start a new company and restructure it all in order for it to be very successful. Um, Now, again, in hindsight, I could have probably done that at Flax. So like 6 months later, like my conclusion is it didn't really matter. It's great that I've done that now. Cool, we're happy. Um, but it also wasn't necessary to do. I could have
Is
just
it
carried on
raining?
running that main company. I think it started raining. Yeah,
Okay.
my
Um,
computer's just going to turn off in a few minutes.
um, well, cool. Any other thoughts? I think we're getting towards the end. Good length pod. I know we missed last week. Um, what
Solid
uh
length
what
pod.
are closing thoughts?
Um, I honestly think like lots of this conversation comes down to like what you want and what your why is, and understanding that. And I think that like through business, one of the really cool things about business, even if um, ultimately what you want is to be an employee at a big company, um, uh, I think that one of the cool things about business is you get to discover that, and I think it is one of the greatest vehicles for understanding yourself. And if you're committed to learning, then business is one of the most humbling things that you can do as well, because you realize how much there is that you don't know, um, how much you have to learn. But if you stay open minded, then you can be very successful. And again, in that process, you can really discover what it is that you want to do with your life and what you want your life to look like itself. Because you can really have anything, but most people get stuck in not knowing what it is that they want, and then they don't know the steps to take after that. So,
I think it's always good to take the first step and then pivot from there if need be. I started doing
so
uh I started doing drop shipping and then a car themed TikTok page. And then, and I stumbled my way across the year. I think you just got to start with something and figure out what you
yeah,
like.
yeah, exactly. Cool.
Cool. Boom. Wait, you got
Boom.
to plug it.
Got to
You want to
plug it.
plug or me plug?
If you want to start an agency or you're running an agency that does less than 100,000 a month in revenue, Brayden and I spend our Saturdays building mentorship for people running agencies. It's free to join. We accept one person every single month, so we pick our best applicant, um, and you pay a percentage of the increased revenue that we help you achieve. So, if it's something you're interested in, you can you can submit an application through the link below, and we look forward to reviewing it.